Good afternoon and welcome. I am Dr. Jermaine Williams, president of Montgomery College, and I'm so happy that you have joined us for the next episode of Next Gen Talent, Let's Get to Work. An exciting conversation here for you today with a very special guest from Clark Construction, Mr. Kris Manning. And before we engage in that conversation, we want to share that you are part of this conversation. So please post your questions in the chat and we will do our best to get to all of the questions today. It's going to be a wonderful conversation about local workforce needs, what we see, and the future that we have for us, which is bright. I know I've met Kris several times and I'm really excited about this conversation. And as we mentioned, from Clark Construction, Kris Manning is our Chief Operating Officer, and I would be remiss if I didn't share, and I know you might share this as well, the incredible history that Clark Construction and Montgomery College have. And I want to make sure I get this right, because these are some profound impacts that you've had, Clark Construction, really in the trajectory of Montgomery College and really helping us fuel the workforce needs, not only for the present, but for the future. So Clark Construction built the incredible Science Center on our Rockville campus that helps prepare our MC students and our Montgomery County residents to be engineers, IT professionals, and scientists. Right? Clark also built the state-of-the-art Bioscience Education Center on our Germantown campus, where Montgomery's biotech lab is housed, right? Where we have our lab bench workers and our scientists of all kinds get their start. So we are just deeply appreciative of our partnership, our long-standing partnership with Clark Construction. Absolutely thankful, Kris, that you are here with us today. As I mentioned, you currently hold the role of Chief Operating Officer for Clark's Infrastructure Group. You are a building professional with more than 25 years of experience. Just hard to believe because you look so very young, but I do believe it, and I'm really appreciative of your wealth of experience and knowledge that you'll bring. We know that Clark is an industry leader. We know that you are an absolute pillar within the construction environment, and the wealth of knowledge that you bring is going to help us really explore some major components of what's happening right now, right? And when we think about what's happening right now and how the world has changed, really centering our conversation around some major components of, what are the construction roles, the jobs, the skills, the education that's needed now? Where are the gaps that we see? And then thirdly, what are the paradigm shifts that we can really leverage to address those gaps in our ever-evolving community? So before we hop in, I want to officially say, welcome, Kris. It is a pleasure to have you.
Well, Dr. Williams, thank you for the kind introduction. I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm excited to talk about this topic.
Awesome, fantastic. Well, let's hop in. Let's hop in and go right to tackling our first question. We talk about what the actual skills are, what the jobs are, what construction looks like now. And I want to I'd like for us to center this around Montgomery College, right? And where we are right now, and our goal of developing homegrown talent for numerous industries across the county and the state, right? And when we talk about Montgomery College, I have to share, our education and training offerings, from degrees to certifications to licensures. When we think about creating alumni who are, as I said, engineers, HVAC professionals, lab bench workers, teachers, and so much more, we're really preparing our students and the residents who we seek to serve for the needs of the business and the industries that we support. So when we think about construction within that context of Montgomery College wanting to be an anchor of the community and preparing for the workforce, we'd really like to get your deeper understanding on, what are the jobs that are out there when we think about, technology and how that's changed, whether it be AI, when we think about environmental shifts, when we think about, our growing diversity. Just let's kind of start with the baseline of what's construction look like now?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, construction is awesome. I mean, there are so many opportunities, right? And just growth opportunities. And regardless of really what motivates you and what your inclinations are, if you're mechanically inclined, right, like working with your hands, being a part of a team, if you like and you enjoy sort of seeing the immediate results of your efforts every day, there could be an opportunity in the trades, a skilled professional, an electrician, a HVAC technician, a plumber, a carpenter. All of those are opportunities. If you're more math and problem solving, all right, there's project management, there's engineering, there's design management. You mentioned technology. If you're interested in technology, if you're passionate about sustainability, there are roles in construction for you. Our virtual design and construction professionals, they help us plan our work virtually before a shovel ever hits the ground, and the sustainability professionals we have working for us are working tirelessly and passionately to help us achieve our waste and carbon reduction goals. If you are looking for an office environment where we've got finance and corporate communications, all components that make the projects that you see out on a job site come to fruition. And I think what's really special about our industry is you can start as a craft professional, and if you're willing to learn and you're willing to get to work and work hard and you're motivated, you can achieve any one of these other opportunities that I mentioned with higher earning potential. So for us, I get excited talking about it because there's so many opportunities out there for anybody of all backgrounds and all levels of experience.
Wow, and I can tell you're
I'm ready to go. This
your
is
passion
exciting.
is palpable. It's fantastic to hear and to feel and to and thank you for this learning experience, because when you drive by a construction site, I'll use an I statement, you see what's happening there, and you've just opened my eyes to just the continuum, right, and the spectrum with which the level of detail and planning that happens even before, you said, shovels hit the ground, right, and then afterwards, all the components. So when you think about that, everything that you mentioned, and again, thank you very much. We know that there are workforce gaps, right? I mean, we know the importance of construction, and now we know a little bit more about the complexity of the multitude of roles. But I'd like to dig a little deeper and probe that. What are the workforce gaps that construction is currently seeing?
Yeah. Our workforce play a critical role in making the industry and really the country function. And I think they're often underappreciated. And I think it's important for us as part of this conversation to dispel the myth or the perception that those that are in blue collar, couldn't make it in a white collar profession, that these careers are dead end jobs, right? Or that there are no career opportunities for advancement, or that you can't earn a good salary with benefits. None of that is true. I read recently that 54% of Americans think that the gap between those in the trades and those that went to college is greater than it is, right? So these folks, most of Americans believe that the gap, the pay gap and the earnings gap is vastly different than it is. Wow. And none of that is true. So I think it's important for us as part of this conversation just to realize that there are so many opportunities. Over the next 10 years, the construction spend is going to increase by about $1 trillion. $1
trillion?
$1 trillion, right? It's fueled largely by government spending and the investment in infrastructure that we've heard so much about. Right. And that equates to about 300,000 new jobs every year. And when you realize that about 20% of the workforce is over the age of 55 and the average age of retirement is 61, the next 10 years, we're going to lose 30% of the workforce to retirement. So all of that knowledge and all of that experience begins to go away. That's about 2 million workers. Wow. Today, there are about 400,000 open positions in construction that are unfilled. So you can begin to see how these layer upon each other, and there is a high demand, and it's a challenge that we're all ready to face. And with institutions like Montgomery College, we can figure this out.
Well, we are here with you side by side as we have been, and we want to be progressive and dynamic and innovative as we look towards the future. And I do have that question for you in terms of the future and how we can shift paradigms. Yeah. Before we go into that, I want to just dig a little deeper, and I feel like I need to go back and re-watch this later because a lot of data you just shared, and a lot of information I'm learning. Let's help our audience kind of kind of reach out and feel a little bit and grasp what you said in terms of what I heard is, getting a hold on kind of an economic ladder, right? A rung of an economic ladder, and being able to kind of continue on that pathway, right? A professional journey that construction will provide not only an entry point, but opportunities to progress throughout your life. So can you, for me and for our audience, make that real? Kris, what does that look like? I start as a what, and I can be a what, and then a what, and a what, and a what. And I know that could take different paths. So just one path. What does that look like?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I can think of countless examples of my coworkers who are amazing people. But you start out as a carpenter apprentice. All right. Okay? You work on any number of different projects in the area. You begin to show that you're working hard, you're performing, you're learning. You become a carpenter foreman. Okay. Right? You're now running a crew of your peers, 5, 6, 7 folks. You then become a general foreman, where now you're managing other foremen. So you may have 3 or 4 other foremen working for you. So your total sort of leadership pyramid, if you will, you're running 20 or 30 folks. Wow. The general foreman, depending upon if you want to continue, all right, you can become an assistant superintendent, for example. You could say, I want to be a safety manager. I'm so passionate about keeping our folks safe. I want to be a safety manager. One of the individuals that I'm thinking about went from being a carpenter foreman, general foreman, went to becoming a superintendent, running work on our concrete trades. He is now a vice president in our company. He runs all the work for our concrete operations. Wow. And so he's got a tremendous responsibility, right? A couple hundred men and women that are working for him, and responsible for a couple $100 million worth of work every single year. So here's somebody that started off, out of high school, became a carpenter, just did a phenomenal job, and had that passion and energy and that drive to just continue to learn more and more. I've got another a good friend of mine that he is now a carpenter foreman, general foreman. He's now an estimator. Right, so he chose to put down his tools, and he chose to come into the office and become an estimator. So it's amazing to have somebody that understands the work, right? Did that for so many years, and now can put pen to paper, begin to estimate work. And there's really no greater way for us to have the most accurate estimate, right? And the best part about this is that he is now teaching some younger estimators who weren't out in the trades what it means, right? How to look at the drawings and decipher things. And so I could talk about a lot of different examples, but that ladder is real, and the perception that construction is a dead-end job, and if I go out and I become a laborer or a carpenter, that it's a dead-end job and I'm going to swing a hammer the rest of my life, that could not be furthest from the truth.
It sounds like it just opens the doors to possibilities.
It does.
And there's multiple pathways. And I wanted to ask that question because we talk a lot about education and training to create family-sustaining wages, right? For our residents, for our students and the residents who we seek to serve. We also want our students and the residents who we seek to serve to be able to contribute to the public good, to be civically engaged. And when we think about the sustainability piece and managing people and what does that mean? So there's this really overarching contribution as you're progressing through the kind of construction pathway, although I know there are more than one pathways. So I really appreciate you centering us with that because it's extremely, extremely important. When we think about so when we think about what's available, right? The current, I don't call it state of construction, but the current roles that are available, right? And then we think about the gaps, right? And then we think about, kind of getting on that ladder, right? Getting your hand on that first rung and climbing that economic ladder, which the construction industry and Clark provides. And what are the new paradigms and or the current paradigms that we need to consider when we think about filling those gaps? And before you respond, I want to contextualize this really securely within Montgomery College and within Montgomery County and the region. So in Montgomery College, we about 14–18% of our students are parenting students. They have children. More than a third of our students have experienced food insecurity in the past in the past 30 days. Many of our students are first-generation college students, right? About 81% of our students identify as a person of color. We very much represent the diversity of Montgomery County and diversity that we see in a lot of different places.
Sure.
Right? But we are fairly unique with more than 150 countries that are represented at Montgomery College. So while we represent diversity, we are fairly unique in several ways. So when we think about that and the populations who we seek to serve, whether they be those individuals who are directly out of high school or individuals who are looking to change careers or upskill, right, or reskill, how do we think differently about engaging those individuals so that we can decrease and ideally eliminate the workforce gaps that we currently have?
Right. Yeah, that's a great question, and I think a lot of it is generating excitement with students, right? It's dispelling some of this myth that is a dead-end job and that you need certain degrees to be a part of this. And I think looking towards the future, you know, technology is a part of what the future holds, right? And if you're interested in management and you're knowledgeable about predictive analytics or artificial intelligence, you know, the construction industry needs you, right? Help us with the supply chain, help us develop the most effective schedules, help us coordinate the design elements, right? There are roles for folks that are interested in that. You know, if you are multi-skilled or have a passion, hey, I don't know if I want to be an electrician, but I want to be multi-skilled. I want to know HVAC. I want to know plumbing. I want to know drywall. You know, as companies continue to drive efficiency into the operations, there's going to be more and more value placed on folks that have a wider range of skill sets. You know, if you're involved in technology and the gaming side of this, you know, there are gamifications that are being had for safety education and installation of work. We have robotics and lift assist devices that are really diminishing the physical demands on some of the craft workers. And so, you know, if you're in robotics, you may never think about construction. There are robotic laying masonry blocks, right? So all sorts of those things, and I think, how do we get to the parents and how do we get to the school counselors and just demonstrate that there is a demand? There are all these opportunities. It is not a dead-end job. There are advancements, and I think a lot of that is just these kind of events where we just talk openly about this, and many folks just drive by a construction site and they don't think twice about this. And I guarantee you there's listeners that don't even realize this may be a place that I can really have a career, have some fun, right? Be a part of a team. And build what matters in my community.
And thank you for that. And that's why we're having this conversation, and that's why we're continuing deepening and strengthening our partnership with Clark, because we want to be able to get to students, get to parents, family members, to be able to show the plethora of actually, you know, entry points. You know, whether it is technology or business or trades or a multitude of other components that you mentioned, you know, safety, right? There's so many different ways that you can contribute to the construction platform in a way to get yourself into an atmosphere where you have opportunity to grow and develop. And not just grow and develop in terms of salary, but in terms of learning. Because from what I hear you say, it's like just like continuous fun.
It's continuous.
You're always learning something new. And it's like, wow, once you have a kind of another step up, or it's like, wow, I get to learn this because I am now responsible for X, Y, and Z. And so for me and for us at Montgomery College, that lifelong learning, that continuous development is fascinating. It's intriguing. It's what kind of fires our synapses. And I think that's what excites, I know, a lot of people, is also being able to think, to your point of, I will and have the possibility, the high likelihood, if I so choose, that I can do something different. Right? I won't be doing the same thing, you know, on day whatever that I was doing on day one. There is progression and there is a path forward. So I want to thank you so very much for that. And I know we're working on some exciting opportunities to really kind of hone in on, you know, what we can do to change the landscape of how construction is, how it is viewed, how it is received, and really wanting to bring this good message to the masses so that everybody can see themselves in what is a profession that has a multitude of opportunities and really has, from what I hear, Kris, staying power. When I hear you talk about that data in terms of the amount of money that's going to be infused, the number of jobs that are going to be needed, all of these things, what I hear is staying power. What I hear is a profession that I can get into and grow and develop within almost, I would say, throughout my life. Is that too far-fetched that I could stay in construction throughout my life, Kris?
Well, I think you mentioned some of the work we did here on campus. You could very easily go from building a campus center, right? You could go from building a job on the campus to building a road and bridge. If you want to build a stadium, if you want to build a hospital, right? So the beauty about, especially this area, right? The government spending, the private development, is anything that you see. I mean, we build so much around here that you can not only grow in different parts of the business, you can also get experience and learn on different types of projects, water, wastewater facilities, and all these things that allow really the country to function. Everything you see, everything we do, if you're driving on a road, if you're driving on a bridge, you take your families to the hospital or to a concert venue, right? You go to see a Wizards game, any of this. It all involves construction, and at any step of the way, you get that personal growth and satisfaction to say, I was a part of that.
That's because you're creating place, you're creating space, you're creating opportunities for people to have a sense of belonging, you're contributing to the community, so you're thinking about all those factors, and that I know is part of what we want to share with individuals, is that you are contributing to your community. Being in the construction profession, like, you're making your community better. You have the opportunities actually to impact your communities in so many ways that we want people to think about and consider. And I definitely want to make sure you have an opportunity to share final thoughts, but I do want to get to any audience, questions from the audience. I'm sure that we have a few, so maybe we have a few minutes to take questions from the audience, and then we can get some final thoughts.
Sure.
Thank you. So, what do you see? We touched on this a little bit, but we have an audience member who apparently wants to hear a little more.
Sure.
What do you see as the role of AI in the construction industry? For example, maybe estimators could use AI in their work.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of opportunities, and I don't want to confuse the artificial intelligence and knowledge with wisdom, right? There's a subtle difference here, but there are certainly opportunities from an estimating standpoint to look at historical data, right? And if we are building similar type projects, is to go back into historical bids, historical actual cost, and gather all that data, and so that you can then compare today's estimate and say, how does this make sense? And looking at escalation, looking at any types of impacts, as well as even doing quantity takeoffs, right? So the estimator's role is less about taking takeoff, and now it's thinking about how stuff goes together. So the evolution of an estimator is less about sort of the more mundane task, right? And now it's thinking about, okay, how do all these pieces fit together? And so the estimator is now using their brain to think through things and help plan the work and engage with the superintendent, engage with our trade partners, to now they're actually much more involved, instead of taking all these days and to just do length times width times height or counting doorknobs, right? AI can do that for us, and now it's more about the thinking and planning, and I get sort of excited thinking about what an estimator could do in the future. So it's a great question, and estimating is just one of these many opportunities where AI will have a positive influence.
That's fantastic. When we talk about pathways into construction, there are times, and we've had several conversations about apprenticeships.
Right.
It's something I think a lot of people say, and I definitely think it's something that we could use more information about. I think it's kind of like, oh, apprenticeships, I've kind of heard of them, not necessarily do I know what they are, and kind of fuzzy. So can you talk more about apprenticeships specifically within the construction industry, and how it works, how they're beneficial?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I would say there's really two types of apprenticeship that I think moving forward. One is the traditional, where you come in to the industry and you want to become a carpenter apprentice, and you go through the apprenticeship program.
Right.
The other thing I think, as it relates to even the Montgomery College, is sort of the earn while you learn, sort of, I'll call it a pre-apprentice, where students may want to go to class, and then either different days or alternating days, they're actually out on a job site working side by side with a journeyman. So you're actually learning it in the classroom, and then the next day or even the next week you're actually on the job site and you're putting that into place. So then you graduate, you not only have a certificate or degree, but you have a head start on everybody else. And so, to me, that is, I'm not sure how to call that, but that's a pre-apprentice, but that earn while you learn is something that I think the industry is ready to embrace. And I think students should get excited about it.
Thank you for breaking that down. I know it's something that we've had conversations about as we think about the educational offerings, at Montgomery College in terms of trades, HVAC, electrical, plumbing, but also in terms of the engineering that I mentioned, our credentials in construction management, whether it's our certificate or our associates, right? And the educational opportunities that we want to build by looking at new, paradigms and saying, well, because of AI or because of X, Y, and Z, we may need this, right? So we're so enthusiastic about continuing to be your partner and again, deepening and strengthening the partnership. I wonder, I'm looking at this, at the question here, and from a Montgomery College alumna. And so they say, I obtained my degree in supply chain management while caring for 2 infants. So to that, I just want to stop and say, congratulations. You are awesome. Kudos to you. Wow, 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 wow. Now I will continue. Our alumna would love to know what opportunities there are at Clark Construction where they could apply their degree. Again, it's supply chain.
Yeah, call me.
All right, call Kris Manning.
If you think about every construction project or anything that is built, right, all the materials have to come from some place to the job site.
Right. Yeah.
So any component of the project has to come. So what our project management staff does is sort of in conjunction with our schedule is managing all of the material that comes. When should it come? So that's working with partners, working with vendors, working with suppliers, scheduling it so that it comes when it's ready to be put into place. And so from a supply chain degree, that is a key part of project management. And we are constantly trying to figure out how do we logistically just minimize any of the inefficiency or waste from a supply chain standpoint, because you can't build it and you can't put it into place unless it's on site when you need it.
Right.
And so that is a key part of what we do.
Right. And you're planning that, right? So so individuals, based on the construction plan, they're thinking supply chain is going to get here on this day. Individuals are going to be able to start working on that day or the day after. So when things don't arrive on time, there's an impact.
Correct.
Multiple impacts to that. There is, I think we have time for one more question. You did talk a little bit about a couple of different internships, kind of broke it down, kind of bifurcated it to 2 categories. We have a listener, a viewer who's interested, and without, and I know we don't want to reveal anything, but confidential or things in the works, but does Clark have the kind of pre-apprentice earn while you learn program that you mentioned?
Yeah. So we do. We're expanding it, and we're actually working right now with the state to sort of expand upon what we have here, and because I don't think it's as well known and as really well we've got to expand it, right? And meeting with Montgomery County officials and some other folks because we've got to get into the schools and get folks excited about this opportunity. Right now, it's more word of mouth, right? And so we've got to do a much better job of publicizing it, working with schools, partnering with institutions, and saying, here it is, and going out and meeting with the students. So more to come on that, but yes, we do.
And we are here again in partnership, and I think that's also a great opportunity to leverage the phenomenal blueprint legislation, educational legislation in terms of the dual enrollment opportunities that kind of coincide with what we're talking about, the apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeships, as you kind of labeled it, situations. So. I know because we have had conversations for a decent amount of time. We could continue this conversation. I do want to provide an opportunity for you to share any final thoughts before we officially transition from this conversation.
No, thank you. I'm fortunate to work in an industry that I love and obviously very passionate about, and to just get a chance to talk about all the opportunities just brings me joy. When I think about the work that we do as a construction industry, you mentioned it earlier, it shapes skylines, it strengthens communities, and I'm not aware of many other professions that has such a lasting and profound impact on society. And so for me and for I think us in the industry, it's gratifying to build what matters. Yeah. And I think for those that are in the construction industry every day, it gives them great pride to really be a part of improving the communities in which they live. So just thank you for this opportunity.
Well, thank you. We could tell that it's part of not only your individual ethos, but as Clark Construction, being a leader in this area, that you are doing what you're doing because you want to see things better.
Yes.
Right. You want to positively impact the communities where you're constructing, for lack of a better word. Right. And so many different forms of that word and how that takes shape with technology and everything else that we've talked about. So thank you for being a leader in this area. Thank you for being our partner here at Montgomery College and continuing to be our partner. I know we're having a lot of exciting conversations that are going to lead to fantastic action that's going to help address the workforce gaps that we've talked about. So I just want to say thank you again for your time, and I know you're a busy person, but you have been able to share just such a wealth of knowledge and information with us, and I know I've learned a lot. I'm sure that our viewers have learned a lot, and on that note, I would like to again thank our audience for joining us for this critical conversation. These conversations about the issues, surrounding our workforce, right? Next gen talent. Like let's get to work. Let's figure out what we can do differently to create that, homegrown local talent that's going to fuel the workforce for today and for the future. That's going to ultimately, leave our society better.
Yes.
Right, and I can feel that right now, and so I thank you for that feeling that you've provided for me, and I hope that our viewers can feel like how much a part of you this is. So thank you very much, and to our viewers again, thank you for joining us. I do hope you join us next week for the next installment of Next Gen Talent. Let's get to work, and thank you very much. Have a great day.